Hey guys, it's TJ to show off some of what we saw of Hearts of Iron 4 Death or Dishonor at PDXCon. I apologize for the resolution in this video. The capture setup I have wasn't perfect, so it accidentally captured a lower resolution than normal 1080p. Anyway, the main thing I wanted to show off in this video is the focus trees for the new countries, and we're going to start with Hungary, who I think are probably the most interesting one. I got to play a fair bit as them and restore the Habsburg monarchy and the Austro-Hungarian Empire, which was pretty cool. They do start with the Treaty of Trianon, which gives them minus 0.5% recruitable population and minus 50% military factory construction speed, so a lot of their political focuses are going to be around getting rid of that, which is pretty important. And I am going to focus, and yeah, it's this secret rearmament is kind of the path that takes you toward that, and working your way up to the Bled Agreement, which puts you back on kind of an even footing with the rest of the world. So that's pretty important. But yeah, I'm going to be focusing mostly on the political trees for these nations, because the naval, air, and army ones aren't really anything that new. So their political one starts with a balanced budget. Then you can choose to strengthen the monarchists and elect a king. Of course, the one I like the best is the Invite the Habsburg path, which allows you to demand a referendum from Austria, and if they don't accept it, you can actually go to war with them. In my game, they actually accepted to become part of the new Austro-Hungarian Empire peacefully, which is pretty cool. You can protect Czechoslovakia and Transylvania, which actually means you annex them. And then the rest of these give you claims on a whole bunch of stuff that used to be part of the Austro-Hungarian Empire, including Palestine for some reason. I'm not sure about that. Electing a democratic king is the path that kind of takes you towards joining the Allies. Or you can actually rapproche with the Little Entente and form your own faction, which is the Balkan Pact. Joining the Allies gives you some oil. The Balkan Pact allows you to get an alliance with Romania, an unlikely alliance, as it says. If you don't want to elect a king, you can go down this economic intervention path, which allows you to either go the communist path, where you assassinate Horthy and start your own, communist state. You can actually start a new faction, or you can join the Comintern, intervene in Czechoslovakia and pressure Romania, and then there's also a focus for the Hungarian Red Army and the Hungarian Military Academy that gives you a little bit of extra fighting power if you take that path. Yeah, there again, like I said, the industrial path, all the science stuff, all the different aircraft designs and stuff is fairly standard for nations you're used to in Hearts of Iron 4. Some of them do get focuses that revolve around the new licensing system, where you can license equipment from other countries, but for the most part, it's not a lot that you haven't, seen before. And I'm talking over this after I recorded it, because they didn't have a microphone and a quiet space available at the convention for me to do this, so my voice might not sync up perfectly with what's going on the screen. But yeah, I think the next nation that we are going to look at is Czechoslovakia, who are very interesting because they have kind of focuses based on, can we even survive the Germans, which is pretty interesting. Their national spirits, they start with the Skoda Works, which gives them factory output, which is really nice, but they also have lower national unity and lower recruitable population. You have to get to that united population focus at the bottom of the industrial tree to get rid of that. So their political direction, they can go left, they can, have their own faction or join the Comintern. They can go towards Beacon of Liberty, which gives them some good defensive stuff for surviving the German onslaught, which is really nice. And of course, it's better technology. Or you can go right, support Czech fascism, wars of aggression, consolidate the nation, which gives you some really good bonuses. You actually have to choose between, which type of fascist you want to be, and then what your relationship with Germany is going to be. You can either try to become a partner, you can try to become an ally, or you can end up becoming a puppet, which actually uses the new Reichskommissariat mechanic, which is kind of interesting. then there's, the Polish question where, do you want to declare war on Poland, kind of? And the Hungarian situation similarly can give you an annex war goal against Hungary. Strategic decisions is their other fairly interesting tree. You could actually go down the German appeasement branch, which I kind of call it the bitch path, which is like you just hand over the Sudetenland and hope that they don't come and kill you. But Dan Lind, Podcat, pointed out that it's kind of an out if everything else fails. You can kind of take that path to stay in existence just to see through the end of the war. You can actually form your own Czech Entente, inviting Romania, Yugoslavia, and there's a lot of focuses related to that. At the end of it, you can choose to either dissolve Hungary or invite Hungary to your faction, and then you also can get some CBs against Bulgaria, which is pretty nice. I think if we do a Let's Play of Death or Dishonor, I think my first playthrough is probably going to be Czechoslovakia, because they're in a really interesting position and they have some really interesting options for getting out of it. Then they have air, naval, and army focus trees that again aren't super different from the air, naval, and army focus trees that we've seen before. There might be some pauses in this video because I know there was a part of it when I was like scrolling over stuff to get footage for this that Podcat was talking to me about stuff, and I kind of stopped what I was doing to hear his explanation of certain things. But I think the next one we're looking at is Romania. They seem like they might be one of the most entertaining nations that has had a focus tree for Hearts of Iron so far, because King Carol II's lifestyle has a bunch of events tied to it. Basically, their entire starting setup is based on how big of a fuck-up their king is and trying to bring him in line. And then they have the neutral foreign policy, which makes it very hard for them to intervene in either side of the war. So you can either start out by deciding to preserve Greater Romania, which is kind of the more aggressive stance, I believe, or you can, and which allows you to get an alliance with Poland, treaties with Germany, deal with the devil, which takes you more closer to the USSR. I think those are supposed to be mutually exclusive. I'm not sure why they're not labeled as such here. Join the Comintern. You can eventually join the Axis. Licensing German equipment can get you some really good stuff really cheap. Again, that's a new mechanic in this expansion. And then they also let you get some oil companies. So I think the Axis path is significantly stronger than the communist path for Romania. Let's see, and then I think this is kind of the allied path where you can demand a guarantee from one of the allies. And I think this one actually is lets you create a faction with Poland, which is fairly interesting. A fairly interesting path if you don't want to join one of the other factions. Balkan dominance. This might actually, so this is the more aggressive one. This is the one where you can go after Bulgaria and Greece and the Bosphorus and split up Yugoslavia, split up Czechoslovakia. The other one, the Preserve Greater Romania, is more of the defensive one. This Balkan Dominance is more of the aggressive one. And then there's the Royal Dictatorship tree, which deals with how are you going to deal with the king, basically. You can install a new king. You can reform the constitution to give the king less power. And then I think you get kind of a choice between having more of a royalist government and having more of a constitutional government is sort of the choice you make there. Militarizing the Sentinels, and then that takes you to all parties must end, which basically is where you've brought the king into check, and you're not going to have as much problem with him partying and spending all the state funds on parties and that kind of stuff. And then this tree down here kind of... you can force the king's abdication for one thing. It also brings you closer into alignment with one of the three major factions, but it doesn't explicitly cause you to join them. It just kind of puts a friendly government in place, and then you get a choice between forcing abdication and handling the king. Which I think handling the king, he still stays around, but it gets rid of his King Carol's lifestyle thing. And then, of course, they have all the standard stuff that other nations get, just in a slightly different configuration. So the last one that we have to talk about is Yugoslavia. I think this is where Podcat was explaining some stuff to me about the events that Romania gets. Yeah, Yugoslavia. They're also in a very interesting position. Have some interesting directions they can take. Yugoslavia's tree has a lot more binary focuses than any other tree that I've seen. But yeah, they have the Croatian opposition, which gives them national unity. Macedonian opposition, which gives them a lot of penalties. Slovene nationalism gives them more penalties. We got all of this Balkan politics. This should be called the Paradox Forums Nation, really. They do get ideology drift defense, though, which is kind of nice. If you're playing as them. Not so nice if you're trying to sphere them or puppet them or whatever. Yeah. So I think, this is where Podcat was telling me a little bit about their situation. But you can either choose to recognize the Soviet Union or go for a Western focus. Both of those give you some political power, and so there's a lot of events tied to these as well. And you can either reinforce old alliances, or you can try to be friends with Italy. And then they have all of these binary choices that it's really an interesting way to structure a tree, because you've got like 5 or 6 layers of this choose either this or that, and they don't invalidate any of the later options, so you really are choosing one or the other for a good part of the game. Which is going to be interesting to figure out what like the optimal path through this ladder is going to be. But then it terminates in either joining the Allies or joining the Axis, and then you get a couple bonuses, based on which faction you chose. Axis will take you towards Macedonia. Joining the Allies will take you towards getting Istria. And then their commie focus, you can form peasant councils. You can abolish the monarchy, and then you get a choice to either join the Comintern, or you can take your own path, founding, the Federal Republic of Yugoslavia, and then you can actually start a new faction that's the Pan-Slavic Workers' Congress, which is pretty interesting. And that each of these give you a way to either get rid of or mitigate all of those nationalist penalties that you're taking for the various nationalist groups in your country. So those are the new focus trees, and they look pretty interesting. I'm looking forward to playing Death or Dishonor when it comes out, and I hope you guys have enjoyed this little preview. We'll see you next time.